ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे सद्गुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवम्। Namaste. Today we are going to discuss some of the basic concepts of the Kumara Sampradaya, the deities of worship and the places of worship related to this Sampradaya. So Vaishnava tradition was propagated in this material world when Sri Hari decided that his divine knowledge had to be reached to the material entangled souls. When he desired that his divine knowledge was to be propagated on earth, he chose his four main associates for this task. He assigned this task to his four associates, which are described in the Padma Purana. कलौ खलौ भविष्यन्ति चत्वारः सम्प्रदायिका श्री ब्रह्मरुद्र सनका Vaishnava Kshitipavana. So the Padma Purana describes that in Kali Yuga there are going to be four Vaishnava Sampradayas that are going to help the material souls free this bondage of Maya and cross this material ocean. The four Sampradayas are Shri, Brahma, Rudra and Sanaka. Sri Sampradaya, propagated by Lakshmi Devi, was very well contained and preached by Sriman Ramanujacharya and Sri Ramanandacharya ji. Brahma Sampradaya was propagated by Madhvacharya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Rudra Sampradaya was preached by Vishnu Swami ji and Vallabhacharya ji. And the Kumara Sampradaya was propagated by Nimbarkacharya and Harivyas Devacharya ji. So these are the four Vaishnava Sampradayas of Kali Yuga that have been initiated by the Lord himself. So the first Guru of all these four Sampradayas, the Adi Guru, remains Sriman Narayan Sri Hari himself. So what is the importance of Guru? Why must we have a Guru? Even looking at the material point of view, when we are small and we need to learn even how to write ABCD or how to communicate, we need our teacher, we need our mother to help us take the first steps even in this material world for this material mundane reasons as well. So we cannot expect that we will understand the Supreme Lord on our own, who is beyond any knowledge, beyond any intelligence, beyond any intellect. He is the Supreme Soul, omnipotent, omnipresent. With our tiny mini brains, we can never achieve Him, never understand Him. That is why we need the Guru. Just like Kabir Das ji has said that Guru Govind do khade kaake lago paaye, balihari Guru aapki Govind diyo bataye. So if Guru and Govinda are standing together, who should I worship first? Then Kabir Das ji says, Balihari Guru Aapki. I shall worship you first, my Gurudev, because if it was not for you, I would have not known Govinda. You know, some people always say that the Lord is everywhere, God is everywhere. We need not take a Guru to understand Him. But just take an example of a honey bottle. The honey bottle is there. But unless someone opens that honey bottle, we cannot taste the honey. So as material souls, as entangled souls, we do not have the capability to open that honey bottle. That honey bottle is going to be opened by our Guru. And that is why in this Kali Yuga, for this dark age of Kali, where there is so much of adharma and so less of dharma, the Lord has propagated the Vaishnava Sampradayas, the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. He sent so many acharyas in these four lineages who have benevolently accepted all souls despite of their sins, despite their flaws. They have been accepted, we have been accepted and taught how to attain the Supreme Lord. So that is why in Padma Purana again Lord Shiva says Sampradaya Vihinahe Mantraste Nishpalas Matam. So if you are not initiated in the four Sampradayas, Lord Shiva says himself that all the things that you will do are not going to give you any result. All the Satkarma that you will do are not going to give you any result. He says again, Devi Diksha Vihinasya Na Siddhir Na Cha Sadgati. If you do not have Vaishnava Diksha, you do not have any Siddhi, you do not have Sadgati. Tasmat Sarva Prayatnena Guruna Dikshito Bhavet. Therefore, with all effort, you should try to take Vaishnava Diksha from a Guru. So this is how the four Vaishnava Sampradayas were propagated on this earth.
The Kumar Sampradaya began when the four Kumaras, Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan and Sanat Kumar, who are the first progeny of Lord Brahma in creation, they received knowledge from Sriman Narayan in the form of a swan who is Hans Bhagwan and propagated it in the world. The first 5 Acharyas of Kumar Sampradaya are known as an Acharya Panchayatan collectively. And we can see this from the image here. We have the 5 initial Acharyas who we are going to discuss separately. After Lord Brahma had started creating the world, the 4 Kumaras approached him and asked him that how can the mind be free of material desire when it is born out of it itself. So Brahmaji sought the help of Sriman Narayan to solve this question, and the Lord appeared in the form of a swan and gave them Sadupadesh with respect to their question. In this way, Hans Bhagwan became the first Guru, Sriman Narayan himself, of the Kumara Sampradaya. The 4 Kumaras received this knowledge from him and propagated it. They first gave this knowledge to Narad Muni. Narad Muni ji is seen here, and Narad Muni ji then gave this knowledge to Nimbarkacharya. Nimbarkacharya is none other than Sudarshana Chakra himself. He is Sudarshana in Vaikuntha and with Lord Shri Krishna. He is Sri Bharata with Sri Ramachandra, and with Srimati Radharani he is Rangadevi ji. So this is Nimbarkacharya, who received knowledge from Narad Muni ji and then passed it on to Srinivasacharya ji. Srinivasacharya ji is the first disciple of Nimbarkacharya, and he is the avatara of Panchajanya Shankha. These 5 main acharyas, initial acharyas, are eternal servitors of Sri Hari, and being almost none different from him, they can be found in other sampradayas as well, which we very well know from Sthala Puranas and other kathas as well. So these are the Acharya Panchayatana, and from here the Nimbarka Sampradaya.
We shall first discuss the ascent of Nimbarkacharya ji himself. So in Goloka Vrindavan, in Vaikuntha Dhama, Shri Krishna spoke to his dear weapon Sudarshana and said, Sudarshana Mahabhavo Koti Surya Samaprabha Ajnana Timirandhana Vishnur Margam Pradarshaya. He says, O Sudarshana, you are effulgent as 1,000 suns. So for these souls who are lost in the darkness of Maya, please show them the pathway to Lord Vishnu, to myself, show them this pathway. Accepting this order of Sri Krishna, Sudarshana Chakra appeared as the son of Aruna Rishi and Mother Jayanti on the banks of Godavari river, which is currently in a place in the Ahmednagar district in Maharashtra known as Mungi in the Paitan area. Nimbarkacharya ji appeared just a few years after Lord Krishna had disappeared from this earth, meaning that he appeared over 5,000 years ago. Although if we do a Google search and etc., then historians give different times of his appearance, but if we read the compositions of our acharyas and his disciples, there is a lot of mention of that he appeared just after Shri Krishna disappeared, and he also met Vajranabha, who was Aniruddha's son, that is Lord Krishna's grandson's son, Krishna's great grandson. So Nimbarkacharya ji appeared over 5,000 years ago. When he appeared, he was named Niyamanand upon seeing his dedication towards his rules. Once he made a rule, he would definitely follow it. And that is very much likely for him because he, Nimbarkacharya Sudarshana Chakra himself, was Bharata in with Sri Ramachandra, and Maharaj Bharat's dedication and servitude for Lord Ramachandra is unmatched till today, and it is very well known among devotees. So he was called a Niyamanand. He showed ultimate dedication to what rules he had set. And as a child, he used to play with his friends, depicting all sorts of Leelas of the Lord. Sometimes they would do Dhruva Charitra together, sometimes they would do Prahlada Charitra together. So, this is the types of games also that Nimbarkacharya played with his friends. And when it came to knowledge and learning, he quickly learned all the Vedas, all the Shastras. His father himself, Aruna Rishi, and his guru, his Shiksha guru at that time, Ahirbudna Rishi, taught him all the Vedas, Shastras, Puranas, and he managed to assimilate all the knowledge very fast and accurately. Not only assimilated, he also removed the secrets from those Vedas and Shastras, the hidden knowledge among the grammar of the hard grammar of the Vedas. He removed them and explained them to his friends, to his peers, and that surprised everyone so much. Because of this, he gained a lot of popularity and love from all the residents of the village. And one day, what he did, he assembled all the saints, he assembled all his friends, all the sages, his father's family, friends, and he said, see, the worship of Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. But if you read the Shastras and Puranas very carefully and remove their essence, you will know that Sri Krishna is never alone. Sri Krishna is eternally together with Srimati Radharani, who is none different from him in quality. So therefore, Sri Krishna should not be worshipped alone. Krishna should be worshipped with Radharani herself. Radharani is non-different from Krishna in quality, but to show the beautiful love, the dual love, they appeared as two and are eternal consorts. They have been eternally related, non-different from each other. So following this, Nimbarkacharya established the worship of Sri Radha and Sri Krishna together. So Nimbarka Sampradaya is still following the worship of Srimati Radharani to be even more superior than the worship of Sri Krishna till today. So when Niyamananda was at a very young age, one day, some Jain Munis, they arrived at the ashram of Arun Rishi. And Arun Rishi invited them and he said, please come, we shall cook for you a meal and you please have a meal. Now the time of their arrival was almost sunset. So the Jain Munis said that by the time you prepare your meal, the sun will set. And we shall not have even a morsel after the sun has set. This is our rule. We do not have food after the sun has set. So Mother Jayanti was cooking fast, but the sun was setting quickly, and Arun Rishi started becoming worried that, I have invited guests, they have come to my ashram, and it will be such a shame if they do not have some food, some prasadam from my house. So looking at this worry, Niyamanand, the young Niyamanand, about 5-6 years old, came and he said, Father, what's the worry about? And he said, this is the situation. I have invited some guests and they will not have food after sunset, and your mother is trying to cook very fast. So Niyamanand said, that's okay, that's not a problem. Please look, he told the guests that, oh Munis, please take a look above the neem tree above you. And it is said that he expanded his effulgence as Sudarshana, and it appeared as if the sun is shining bright. And that brightness remained until the Jain Munis had their dinner and supper. And immediately after they finished and washed their hands and cleaned themselves, they saw that the stars were twinkling in the sky. So they were so surprised, very surprised. And the rishis present at the ashram then together named Niyamanand the Nimbarka. Nimba meaning the neem tree and Arka meaning the sun. So the one who showed the sun above the neem tree is known as Nimbarka. In this way, a lot of Leelas were propagated in Mungi, and after a few years, Nimbarkacharya decided to move to Vrajabhumi with his parents. Nimbarkacharya was so merciful by nature that he did not take sannyas without his parents. He said, come, both you will come with me. So Nimbarkacharya, with his parents Arun Rishi and Jayanti mother, moved to Brajabhumi.
After Nimbarkacharya left Mungi with his parents, he came to Vrajabhumi and decided to reside at Govardhana Hill. And they collectively chose a place which is Neem Gaon, and according to its name, it's very well known for its neem trees in abundance in that village. So they all decided to stay at Neem Gaon, and Nimbarkacharya did a lot of tapasya at this place. And we can see some images of this beautiful place at Govardhana, which is so peaceful even today. Nimbarkacharya then received Vaishnava Diksha and knowledge from Narad Maharshi at Narad Kund in Govardhan itself. Narad Kund is the place where Narad Muni had resided in Brajabhumi as per the orders of Sri Krishna, and Krishna had blessed him to revive the curse of Daksha. Narad Muni has attained a curse from Daksha Maharaj that he will not be able to stay at one place for a long time. But Lord Krishna had blessed Narad Muni that at Narad Kund in Brajabhumi you will be able to stay almost permanently. So Naradji had resided at Narad Kund, and Krishna had ordered him to pen down the definitions of bhakti. And this is upon this receiving this order, Narad Muni had written down Narad Bhakti Sutra at this place. And Narad Bhakti Sutra is one important treatise among Vaishnavas even today. Each and every sutra is full of so much love and devotion for the Lord. So this is Narad Kund we can see here, and it is at this place that Narad Muni gave the knowledge that he received from the four Kumaras to Nimbarkacharya, thus propagating the Kumara Sampradaya. And during this time, after Nimbarkacharya had got this Diksha, Narad Muni gave him the Shaligrama Shila Sarveshwar Bhagwan. This Shaligrama Shila is one of the smallest Shaligram Shilas in the world, and this deity has been passed on from the four Kumaras up to the current main Acharya of Nimbarka Sampradaya till today. So Sarveshwar Bhagwan, as he is very well known among the Nimbarka Vaishnavas, was passed on to Nimbarkacharya by Narad Muni at Narad Kund, as we can see in this image. Now, apart from eternally being Sudarshana Chakra, Nimbarkacharya ji extends his worship in the service of Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna in 7 other forms. These 8 forms collectively are known as Ashtaswarup. So Nimbarkacharya ji is the Sudarshana Chakra. Among Krishna's friends, he is Toshasakha. In the Ashtasakhi, he is Rangadevi. When Krishna goes to herd the cows, he is Krishna's stick. He is Srimati Radharani's nose ring. In the palace of Nanda Maharaj, he is the cow named Dhusar, whose milk Krishna loves very much. He is the Angakanti, or the aura of Srimati Radharani's supreme form, and he is Nimbarkacharya ji, who has propagated the worship of Sri Radha and Krishna in this material world. So these are the 8 forms of Nimbarkacharya ji, Ashtaswarup.
We shall now speak a little about the Acharya Peetha of the Kumara Sampradaya. The Kumara Sampradaya is known to have only one Acharya Peeth throughout India. So all other places of Nimbarka Sampradaya work or function under this one Acharya Peeth. So when Nimbarkacharya was residing in Nimbagram, the initial Acharya Peeth was established in Nimbagram itself. So Nimbagram was the headquarters of the Kumara Sampradaya in the initial stages, and this remained until the 35th Acharya in succession, who was Sri Harivyas Devacharya ji. Now during the time of Harivyas Devacharya ji, one day some devotees came to him and said that in Rajasthan near Ajmer there is one Yavan who is called Masting Shah, And when devotees travel through this place, this Yavan troubles them by destroying their dharmic symbols like the Brahminical thread, the Shikha, the Tilak. He destroys them and disturbs them really a lot when they pass through this place. And for devotees staying in the northwestern place, this place was a must go when they were going to Dwarika. So they had to pass through Ajmer when they were going to Dwarika, and whenever they traveled, they had to face a lot of trouble from this Yavan. So they had come to Harivyas Devacharya with this problem, and Harivyas Devacharya then sent his first disciple, Sri Parashuram Devacharya ji. Dwarika, being one of the first four dhams, was a um, desired destination for all devotees all over India, and people passing through there on the way to Dwarika were being troubled. So Parshuram Devacharya ji was sent to this place, and what he did was he simply lit a fire and chanted the names of Sri Hari. This was enough to take away all the energy from the Masting Shah, and Masting Shah came and accepted defeat at the lotus feet of Sri Parashuram Devacharya ji, giving his entire place as a donation to Parshuram Devacharya ji. So Parshuram Devacharya ji resided in Salimabad, which is near Ajmer. This place was known as Salimabad, which is near Ajmer, Rajasthan.
After Parshuram Devacharya had conquered Masting Shah, Harivyas Devacharya ji received the news and decided to shift the Acharya Peeth to Salimabad in order to make it safe and strong for long in future. So the Acharya Peeth was shifted by Harivyas Devacharya and given to Parshuram Devacharya from Nimbagram in Govardhan to Salimabad in Rajasthan near Ajmer. Even to this day, the Acharya Peeth is currently established in the palace of Masting Shah, and the main Acharya, who follows the disciplic succession after Parshuram Devacharya, remains seated on the throne, and we can see some images of the Acharya Peeth here. Harivyas Devacharya could also foresee that it would be easier to preach the glories and move further into Bharatvarsha with the knowledge of Sriman Narayan by staying near Pushkar, which was the main pilgrimage place and still remains the main pilgrimage place among the Hindus. So the current Acharya Peeth is at Salimabad, and presently we have Sri Shyam Sharan Devacharya ji Maharaj, who is seated on the throne here, and he is lovingly known as, whoever is seated on the throne here is lovingly known as Shriji Maharaj. So this is the Salimabad Acharya Peeth, Akhil Bharat Nimbarkacharya Peeth. We will now go on to discuss some of the worshipable deities of Nimbarka Sampradaya, and we will begin with Sarveshwar Thakur. Sarveshwar Thakur, as I had mentioned earlier, is one of the smallest Shaligram Shilas that was passed on from Narad Muni to Nimbarkacharya, and he continues to be passed on to the Shriji Maharaj even at current time. Now, Sarveshwar Bhagwan is so small that sometimes he needs to be viewed using a magnifying glass, and we can see his beautiful darshan here with a magnifying glass. And the devotees have said that there are two lines that are inscribed on him, and these two lines represent Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna together. So in this way, Sarveshwar Bhagwan represents Sri Radha Krishna together in a very beautiful small form, who is loved by every Nimbarka Vaishnava all over the world. Even though he is so small, his greatness is so much that it is only Shriji Maharaj who worships him. All the worship of the day are conducted by Shriji Maharaj himself. From the Mangala Darshan to the Sringara, Abhisheka, to the Rajbhog and Shayan, everything is conducted by Shriji Maharaj himself. And this rule has to be so strictly followed that even when Sriji Maharaj travels, which he does very much because he has to, there's so much of responsibility on him, spiritual responsibility to propagate knowledge, so there is a lot of travel that is done by Sriji Maharaj. But this worship method is never changing. So when Sriji Maharaj travels, Sri Sarveshwar Bhagwan also has to travel with him. And because he is so small, there is a lot of fear of him being misplaced, which is really valid. Being a Shaligram Shila and so small, there is a lot of fear for him. So how does he travel? He travels in a locket that is specially made with a seat and everything. He is seated in a locket, and that locket is placed in the neck of Sriji Maharaj himself. So this worship method that Sriji Maharaj is the one who is going to worship Sarveshwar Bhagwan, it has been brought from the initial parampara and is still being carried out very beautifully. Even today when Sriji Maharaj travels, he makes sure to take Shaligram, Sarveshwar Shaligram with him in the form of a locket, and all the Vaishnavas who have darshan of Sriji Maharaj feel blessed to just take a look at that locket itself as well. So this is Sarveshwar Bhagwan, the worshipable deity of Kumara Sampradaya. The next worshipable deity of the Acharya Peeth itself is Sri Radha Madhavji. Radha Madhavji were initially worshipped by Jayadeva Goswami. Jayadeva Goswami, who has written down the Gita Govinda and is very famous among all Vaishnavas, artists, etc. Jayadeva Goswami worshipped Sri Radha Madhav. And when Govind Sharan Devacharya was seated as Sriji Maharaj in the Acharya Peetha, Radha Madhavji came in his dream and instructed him that they are placed underground in a particular place in Govardhan, and he should come and take them with him. So Acharyaji traveled to Govardhan, and when he searched at the place that was instructed, he literally found Radha Madhavji himself, and he decided to take him to Salimabad as per the instructions given to him. But the people of Govardhana were so reluctant. They said, "Oh my God, the Lord has been with us and we didn't know." So they were reluctant to leave him, and he was so beautiful. But Acharyaji tried to explain to them that, the Lord has told me himself I must take him. This is his order. Since the Brajavasis were not agreeing, Maharaj said that, okay, we shall place Radha Madhav on a chariot, and I shall try to pull him, and you people try to pull him as well. Whoever he wants to go with, he will go. That is the Lord's decision himself. So when they placed Radha Madhavji on the chariot and the Brajavasis tried to pull, the Lord did not move because he had already decided that he wants to reside in Salimabad with Sarveshwar Thakur. And when Acharyaji pulled the Rath, Radha Madhav moved along with him. So upon viewing this, the Brajavasis also agreed that this is our Lord's wish, desire, so we must let him go. And this is the way Radha Madhavji came to Salimabad and are still being worshipped so beautifully, so nicely in the Acharya Peeth, and people come from all over the world to have darshan of Sri Radha Madhav. One other famous temple that many of you must have visited, must have at least heard of, is the Banke Bihari temple in Vrindavan. Now Banke Bihari Ji, how he appeared, we'll just have a short discussion here. First of all, I must mention that Banke Bihari Ji appeared in Nidhivan. Nidhivan, the place which is known to be the Rasasthali of Sri Radha Krishna even today, where no monkey, no even monkey or any other animal also resides during the night. As soon as the sun sets, all the animals move away from Nidhivan, giving space to Sri Radha Krishna and the Gopikas to perform their Nitya Rasa Leela. So this is Nidhivan, where I do envisage that most of us have taken darshan or at least heard about. So Nidhivan was the eternal residence of Sri Haridas Swamiji. Haridas Swamiji in Nimbarka Sampradaya was an incarnation of Lalita Sakhi, the main of the Ashta Sakhis of Srimati Radharani. Haridas Swami was very well known for his singing. His singing was so famous, he was actually the guru of Tansen in music, and even Akbar had come to hear his music so many times. But obviously, being Lalita Sakhi, Haridas Swami only sang for the pleasure of Sri Radha and Krishna. So Haridas Swami used to sing every day, and upon singing at a certain time of a certain raga, Sri Radha Krishna would appear to him every day and give him darshan. So one day his first disciple, Sri Vitthal Vipul Devaji, it was his birthday, and his acharya asked him that, do you want something? So this very, very great acharya, very humble, very exalted acharya asked that, you have darshan every day, so I want to have darshan also. Will you be able to give me that boon? So he said, okay, definitely. His birthday was on Radhashtami, on the same day. So he said, it is Radhashtami, let us wait for some time. So in the month of Agahan, in the bright fortnight, on the 5th day, which is Bihara Panchami, Sri Haridas Swami sang and Sri Radha Krishna appeared. And Radha Krishna asked him that day that, do you we come to you every day, so do you want something from me? And Haridas Swami said, yes, I do. What do you want? I see you every day as two, but you are essentially one. So my request, I want to see you as one. Just become one. And Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna conjoined and became Sri Banke Bihari Ji. Banke Bihari Ji in the deity form, very merciful, very loving, who is present among us even today, spreading so much of love, so much of happiness to his devotees. This is Banke Bihari Ji. And then Sri Haridas Swami requested his disciples to come, and he said, see Vitthal Vipul, you wanted to have darshan, this is Radha Krishna together. And since then, Banke Bihari Ji was worshipped in Nidhivan, and after some years he was shifted to his current place, which is right in the center of Vrindavan. And Banke Bihari Ji is the life of Vrindavan. He is the very breath of Vrindavan. Whoever comes to Vrindavan definitely visits him. So this is Banke Bihari Ji from Nidhivan to...
So these are just some of the snippets that I have given you for the Nimbarka Sampradaya. There is, whenever it comes to the Lord or his devotees or anything associated with them, it's always an ocean where it's not possible to cross. But these small droplets itself are enough to quench our thirst. This has been a wonderful opportunity given to me by Divya Desham and Tirtha Yatra. I have associated with Divya Desham and Tirtha Yatra from many years now, and they have such a wonderful platform to serve the devotees of the Lord by propagating knowledge about their divine places, the Tirtha Sthanas, and it's a beautiful service that they're doing. So I request you all to please subscribe to their channel, get more knowledge and become more happier, get more bliss. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please put it down in the comment section. I shall definitely see to it that your doubts are cleared with the little knowledge that I have. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu, Shri Guru Charana Kamalebhyo Namaha. Thank you.